Hey guys, welcome back. It's Lars again. Thank you for joining me again for my third video. Today I want to start talking about automation, true automation. Okay? So this is a very basic build. Actually, it's probably a little bit more than very basic. But this is from one of my other game saves. We're still here in the starting area. So you may recognize it. There's the store. Up the hill there's the castle. So what I have here is a bunch of foundations. I've got a gem crusher, which love that. It's a new addition or a fairly new addition to the game. I have splitters up on top. I've got funnels and I've got auto smelters. And I have a bunch of ram drills set up here. There's 12 ram drills. I've got conveyor belt systems. I have grinders. So let's just start over here. And of course, everything's piped. This may seem overwhelming, but we're going to go step by step and we'll do the basics on how to get this set up, okay? And you should not expect on building such a big thing in the beginning. What I had actually done in the beginning was to set up, excuse me, to set up my splitters, my foundations, my smelters, and then I only had a couple of ram drills. But because I knew already that I wanted to add a bunch, I made this expandable. And I'll go over that with you. A couple things to go over real quick that a lot of people have already covered in the tutorials is these grinders. The thing of the grinder is that when your drills, in this case our ram drills, spits out a big chunk of dirt, the grinders are going to grind it up. Okay, it's going to send it on down. The more grinders you have, the better. And really, I could replace these two conveyors here, this one, and this one, and make those all be grinders, and would be a really good idea. And I probably will do that in the future. I was playing around with a lot of things. You can see I dug holes underneath. I tried putting ram drills down on the bottom to see if I'd get bigger chunks. But ram drills are only going to take your top layer dirt, which means it's going to be smaller iron and gold ores, right? However, with the grinders, it's going to grind them up into small pieces. And here's the funny thing about the game. Even though they grind up the big chunks of dirt into little chunks of dirt, the ore size doesn't change. If you were on the bedrock and you were using, say, Goliaths and Davids, and you got big chunks of dirt and it grinds them up to tiny little pieces of dirt, it would spit out big ores, big gold, big iron. So, why the grinders are helpful is because, like I said, it doesn't change the size of the ore. What it does do gives you more of the ore. All right, so if I had no grinders here, okay, I just had like a big chunk of dirt go up, fall into my harvester, it would spit out one iron ore. It would go up, and it would go through my splitters, and it would drop into the iron ore. But having a grinder, it'll chop it up into what, 8 pieces, 10 pieces, something to that effect. It would drop down in the harvester, and I would get 10 pieces of ore come out. All right, that would all be the same size as that one piece of ore. So grinders are good. Okay, with that in mind, what we're going to do is I'll cut away in a minute. We'll go back to our save game and we'll come and start making a beginning automation station. Okay, so, and I'll take you step by step how to do that. Hopefully we'll get it covered in one video. I just wanted you to see what I've done here in the starting area. It can be done, and actually was a fantastic thing because starting small and working bigger, it enabled me to make enough money that I could go and buy the next quarry, and keep getting bigger and bigger. And maybe in future episodes, I'll show you some of my other builds to show you what is possible. Because eventually you're going to get down into the bigger quarries and use David and Goliath to get the bigger ores. Okay, so let's cut away and I'll open up the other save that we've been working on, and we'll be right back. Alright guys, we're back again. So, I've been busy making a little money because we're going to need money to set up our automation. And for this video, we're going to set it up over here on the other side. And remember I told you in our beginning videos that this is a really good place to set up. And like I just showed you in the last portion, you can set something up here and you can make a good amount of money, good profit right off the bat, okay? And what I like to do, also, I guess real quick, let me show you what I've been working on since our last video. I've widened out my hole, I put down more foundations, I went and bought some lanterns, I added those around, give me a little more light down here. I widened out the top, I put up stairs, so it makes it real easy to go down, up and down these stairs, okay? And as you can see too, I got a lot more buckets. I moved my pipe over further. So I just made it bigger. And if I was going to continue down here, what I would end up doing is bringing my smelter down, my furnace, my pots, my pans, and I would do all my sorting down here. It just saves me a step from running up and down every time I want to, sort my pan out. Another thing I want to show you that was really important, or to me it is, you notice this broken sword right here? You guessed it. That's a relic. I found that when I was digging. On this particular site, there are 2 relics. Okay, there's one somewheres in this area where I was digging at, and I guess spoiler alert, another one over here in this area someplace. Not going to say exactly where, but you get the idea. There are 2 relics. And if you recall, I'm going to pick it up so you can see it. I'm using my E key. And look in the bottom left corner. It says sword relic. Okay. If you recall in our other video, if we go straight down that road, there's a cave to the left. And we go in there and we drop our relic on one of the pedestals. And once we have 4 relics found, it opens a hidden door, which gives us an item of value and or decoration, right? Alright, so earlier we had gone to the store, we had bought some pipes. I have some pipes left over in this cart, and I'm going to need a whole lot more pipes. But while you guys were away, I'd been busy doing resources, making gems, selling the gems. I made some shard ingots, okay? And that's all in preparation for doing our first automation. And I think in the store I have about 17 or 18,000 Hydra coins. Not a whole lot, but it's enough to get started. And you notice here I have a pan of Cloutium. Remember what I said, save everything, don't throw anything away. That's going to become very useful later. Okay, so our shard ingots, I use the E key to pick it up. I drop it over here. This one's a pretty nice weight. You don't go by the dollar amount or coin amount, you go by your weight. So this one is 827 pounds. That's what I call it. I don't know if it's actually pounds, maybe it's ounces, I don't know. But I call it pounds. Anyway, E key to pick it back up, E key to drop it. These come in very handy because part of our automation, we need to do pressure tanks. Okay, and you'll put these inside of pressure tanks to keep them running. Alright, so here is what I'm going to do. I am going to cut away. I'm going to come back. I'll get some things here laid out on the ground, get started. You don't have to do it. You do things your own way, okay? At your own pace, your own time, however you want to do it. This only meant as a suggestion, and this is how I do it. But I'm going to set my first foundation like right here in this corner. And I'm going to use wooden foundation instead of the big block foundations. But you can use either or. Either one would be fine. I'm going to set up some foundations. I'm going to get smelting pots, funnels, splitters, and I'm going to get a bunch of pipe. I'm going to get ram drills, some conveyor belts, some grinders. I don't know if I'll have enough money for everything or not. We will see. And anyway, so I'm going to cut away. go get some of that, and we'll be back soon. Alright guys, I'm back again. I am in Bridgeport, and I wanted to show you another little pro tip that I use. Probably a lot of people use it. This is the town right across the river that has everything from A to Z that you're going to ever need in the game. Okay? So one thing I do is to back my truck up in an angle. And the reason I do that, you can see the buying platform where my blue dot is. So you place your items on the buying platform, you click buy, and then you got to load them up in the truck, alright? If you're able to stand up in the truck and grab your items and put them in there, it saves you time. In this case, I'm here getting our foundations for our first automation. Okay? I just wanted you to take a look at that as a little pro tip about trying to get your truck closer to the platform. Alright, we'll be back. Okay guys, so here's something else. I told you I was going to buy platforms for our first automation, right? So remember what I said earlier, this is your buying platform, and as long as the item is touching anywhere on the buying platform, you can purchase it. It should have here, how much in total this is going to cost you. So what I tend to do is I'll get all my items that I can, get them all stacked up. Now, remember earlier I said another little trick, get things lined up, jump up in the air and hit the E key. Okay, so by doing that I put more on the platform, and I can get one more on here. There's other ways. If I were to build other stuff, I could probably make that go even higher, but I'm not really worried about getting that high up. So let me show you now on loading your truck. I already have 4 platforms. What I do is I center myself on the back end of the truck. I move forward with my W key, hold the W, and jump up. Oop. Okay, and then while I'm on the back of the truck, I jump up in the air and hit the E key, and it places it right in where I want it to go. Okay, so I just rinse and repeat, and by doing this, I'll get everything on there that I want to get. Okay, so I'm not going to bore you to death. I just wanted you to see, how I do it, and it makes it a little bit easier when you get ready to buy your own stuff. All right, so we'll be back. And we're back. All right, so while we were gone, I went to Bridgeport, and I bought a bunch of foundations. I bought ram drills, auto smelters, funnels, corks, things that we're going to need for our build. And we'll go over a list of all those items, but we're going to start off small. And I will tell you this, I had 18,700 hydro coins when I went to Bridgeport. And I got done, I had 6,000 left. So, I used a lot of coins in the process of buying this stuff. We may not have enough to buy our grinders and everything else that we need, because we still need to get splitters, conveyor belts, grinders, and that's okay. We will take it step by step. So what I'll do is I'll cut away, I'll start putting the foundations down. And what I do is I'll line up on this rock, and I'll walk for 2 seconds. 1,000, 1,002. For just about this area right here. Kind of, if you look closely, you can see where it bends, makes a curve. That's where my first foundation is going to go. You need to think ahead a little bit how you want this to lay out. And one really important thing to consider is the flow. And what I mean is your water pipes flow in one direction. You can have multiple pipes to power up different things, but a lot of things like your conveyor belts, your grinders, those all hook together. So your pipes will flow one direction. You want your conveyors running in the same direction. All right. In this game, you can get collisions. So if you're not careful when you're laying out your pipes and everything, you'll get done with all your work. You go turn it on, and you'll get a red exclamation mark over something, a pipe, a conveyor, a drill, whatever it might be. And what that means is that you've got water flowing in two different directions. Okay, so you have to be mindful of that. And a little pre-thought goes a long way. This area is not very big. It's pretty small. And it's meant to be a starter area, right? So we're going to use ram drills, which gets the dirt off the top. So hence we're going to get smaller iron ores and gold ores and smaller shards. That's okay. We just want to make this thing automated, right? So for our purposes, we'll come out of the water, and I'm going to have everything flow from the backside down that way towards me. Okay? So you'll see what I mean as we go along. But the first thing we'll do is I'll put my foundations, and this is really key. This part is really important. The best advice I can give you is work backwards. So if you go and place your drills, and if you go and place your conveyor belts, you may find that, hey, I don't have enough room to do everything I want to do now. That happens. What I recommend, highly recommend, is place your foundations, put up your smelting pots, put up your splitters, get everything up on your foundation work, and start working back from there. Work backwards, okay? It's going to save you a lot of heartache. Save your piping for last. All right, so I'll explain as we go along. But the first thing I want to do is put down my foundations, put down my smelting pots, and I'm going to have everything facing the way I want it to go and flowing the way I want it to go. So when we come back, hopefully I'll have the foundations down. We'll have the start of our build. Okay? So we'll be back in just a moment. Alrighty. So what I've done is to put down foundations. And in this one, I actually put down 9, 12, 14. And it's a little, you notice that it feels like there's one missing right here, and there's a reason for that. Because what I'm going to end up doing is having a conveyor belt hitting splitters, and if you put a full foundation here, I don't think it'll work out just right. And what I also did was, hindsight's 20/20. Instead of going directly in the corner, I cheated it back some. So I still have a flat working area, and I can start placing my smelting pots, my auto smelters, if you will, and we'll start building it up from there. Okay? So I just want to kind of give you, a step by step as we go along. You don't have to make yours this big. I prefer to have space. I don't want to feel cramped. If something falls, it'll be on top of the foundations. I can pick it up, find it easily. And of course, you notice they're not orange because I locked them down. I have not locked this guy down yet because I haven't finished them. Once I get them all finished and I get my splitters, my funnels, everything, I'll lock all that down to help keep away from the lag. I've got a pretty good area right here for actually running conveyor belts and putting up my ram drills. So I could even make it do a horseshoe shape if I wanted to and come all the way back down here if I wanted to. I'm not going to, but it could be done. And what I'm trying to do with this is also to keep it expandable, meaning that I may start off small with only a couple, 2 or 3 ram drills and maybe just a few conveyor belts, but I can expand it later. And I have to keep that in mind with my pipes as well. I need to put pressure tanks, I need to have filters on there, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that as we go. Okay? Be back soon. Alrighty, so I've placed 4 of my smelting pots, my auto smelters, if you will. And what I like to do is to put a funnel above them. So if you remember, you use your E key to pick up and drop something, or your E key to pick up something. If I left click, then I'm getting ready to place my item, right? So I want my funnel right over the top of my smelting pots. And I'm going to put 4 of these up, and then I have to see if I can start afford to get splitters, and we'll start doing conveyor belts. I have ram drills already. Okay. one of the things that we'll have to talk about here in a little bit is this guy, your compressor. What the compressor is for the gems. So earlier we were digging them with a pan, we were using a grinding wheel, and that's pretty neat. You know, it cuts it down to, you know, one gem, a cut gem. What this guy actually does is as your gems fall in there, eventually you will push this red handle. It will bring the top down, it'll smash them, and it'll keep smashing them. Every time you push it down, it'll smash them. Okay? The advantage of that is you don't have to mess with it. Just let them stay in there, you know. And whenever you're ready to do a ring or a necklace with, you know, that requires a cut gem, you take, let's say, a ruby, a stack of rubies that's been compressed. So instead of being worth, I don't know, let's say 70 coins, might be worth 400 or 500 coins. But you can take out one stack of ruby or emerald or sapphire or onyx. You can put them on your anvil. You can take the gold out of your smelting pot, get it hot, put it on the anvil, and make it. And it's going to be worth a whole lot more money. Okay? So, when I come back, hopefully I'll have splitter set up here on the top. I'll show you how that goes. One thing I did is, as I placed these, I had to turn, when you first initially get them, they may not be pointing in the right direction. You want your molds to point outwards to the direction that you want to be able to use it. It might sound confusing, but anyway, let's pick this guy up. Let's turn him. Hit the R key to turn. Nope, see, it's backwards. That's okay. Pick it up, place it again, hit the R key. Now we have the mold facing us. So again, I'm going to go from that direction, and I'm going to come up this way with it. It's going to flow up. It's going to drop my ores right into my smelting pots. And on the end of the line, I'm going to have a compressor up here in the air, and that's going to be my system. Okay? And again, I'm going to make this expandable. So we might start off small, but it's going to get bigger as we go. All right? So we'll be back shortly. All right, guys. I just want to cover real quick too, bridge pour. If you remember in my earlier episode, I had cut across here, and I showed you already the jeweler here in Bridgeport, and I showed you this housing area where you can buy your roofs, your walls, your foundations. You can buy sheet metal, fishing poles, racks for tools, all that good stuff, right? So here you can also buy lamps. You can buy a wood floor. It looks the same as this one, it just doesn't have the legs on it to make it foundations. But these come in very helpful later on as well. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to just show you the different stores. This next one here, also tools and equipment. So notice you got all the pipes, you got the furnace. Here's where I bought my auto smelters, I bought funnels, I bought my compressor. Okay, here's where you can buy Davids and Goliaths, and also harvesters, which I'm going to need. I need one harvester. I haven't purchased it yet. But anyway, so this is your tools and equipment shop. Then you have another, fancy furniture, as it says, Fabrics Fancy Furniture. Very cool. Okay, so once you start building houses and things, you can get decorations. Instead of a cot, you can get you a fancy bed, some chairs, safes, bookcases. You'll need those later once you start opening up the blueprints. But there's all kinds of cool stuff in here. They introduced fishing. You buy fish. You catch your fish. You can buy a fish trophy board, and while you hold the fish in your hand, you can hit the E key, or left click, and put it on the trophy board. And it doesn't matter if it's a prawn, a fish, a swordfish, whatever it is. You can put it on there, okay? So that's some really cool things here. And then another one to cover real quick is your conveyor belts, your grinders, your splitters. They got centralized conveyor belts. They have standards. They have lefts and rights. They have your vertical conveyor belts. And here's your grinders, okay? So again, you got your buying platform. I've already moved my money here to this area. You can see I'm getting a little low there on cash. I don't know that we're going to have enough to do everything we want to do today. And if not, that's all right. I'll just go make more and come back. This is a new area or an area that's got changed and added to. So now you can come over here and you can buy carts. So the one you had in the starting area is great, but later I tend to buy a fast wooden cart. And each of my areas, as I open them up, I'll load these up with pipes. I'll buy another cart. I'll load it up with tool bags, etc. And that way it keeps it organized. And these don't have a limit. You could put, 1,000 pipe in there if you wanted to. Okay. You can put 500 tool bags, whatever you like. You can put them in these carts. So it's just a neat way to keep things organized. And if we do future videos, I'll show you, up this way you have, there's a ship up there, and this is where you start opening up your blueprints. So you can make your own pipes, you can make your own tool bags, you can make candlesticks, all kinds of cool stuff. There is a shop up here for logic, which I really haven't delved into that much, but that'll probably be something coming up soon. But this is for doing power things, okay? And this is a really cool feature. Some dynamite, right? But anyway, you can make logic controls and where you can shut off your automation, with the flip of a button. There's lots of good stuff here. There's logic repairs. So as your pipes or your filters start getting down low, you can automate the logic so it repairs your pipes. And lastly, we got a scrapyard here. So when you have things left over, you just really are not going to use them anymore. You can bring them here to the scrapyard. You can place them on this iron grate. If you go up the ramp, you can hit the little red button here, and fire will come up. It'll smelt it down. It'll leave you a scrap cube. And what you'll do, eventually you can take those scrap cubes and smelt them down into a scrap bar, and you can sell the scrap bar. So you get some of your money back that way. Okay? What I recommend is if you have extra stuff, don't throw it away. Don't necessarily scrap it unless it's something you absolutely will never use again. So what I recommend doing is taking your scrap bars and, your extra items and moving them to another site. Because as you go along, you're going to want to open up new mining areas. Alright, so we'll probably cover that too a little later, the different quarries. But I just wanted to show you around Bridgeport. This is your main town from everything from A to Z that you're going to need. If you need something in the game, you'll find it here for sure. Alright? Okay guys, so we'll rejoin here in a little bit. Alright, so we're back at our plant site, and what I've done is to purchase 5 splitters along with some grinding belts, grinders, etc. So one of the things you want to do, as you can see, since I bought 5 of them, I've got them all facing out toward me for convenience. You can do them however you like, but what I recommend doing is setting your dials to the resource that you want it to drop through. So to explain that a little better, looking at the front of it, you've got Cloutium on the bottom. I've set this dial to gold. Then you have iron, gems, and shards, right? And however you want to do it is fine. I prefer to do gold, iron, and I'll do Cloutium next, and then I do shards, and then last one is gems, because your compressor goes on the end of your line, right? So here we got gold. Here, this one's already set. That's set to Cloutium. We'll just move that up to iron. Okay. And that one's set to Cloutium. That's fine. And here we will go to shards. And lastly, would go to gems. Now, I'm changing that dial just by left clicking on it. Okay. So the next step is we have to mount these up above and slightly behind our smelters. And also, while we were off screen, I moved the smelters all the way back. I like to have a lot of room up front, okay? And what's going to happen is they're going to go up in the air, and they're going to be slightly behind these funnels that drop down into the smelter. All right, so the way we accomplish this is E key to pick it up. Okay. I don't know if I can. Let's see. Left key to place it in the world, right? And if you notice on the top, I'm going to drag it down so you can see it. See the arrows? Really important. Remember, we were going to go from right to left. So if I hit the R key, there we go. Now it's facing the right direction. The water and the flow is going to go from right to left. And then the front arrow, it says it's going to push a resource out through this other arrow, okay? So that might be a little confusing. I hope not. Alright, so what I have to do is I have to get that lined up behind the funnel, and that's not correct. These can be a lot of fun to get placed on the first time around. The good news is, once you place one, they're not so bad after that. Actually, we might be able to get away with that right there. Okay, so remember, I did gold, and then my second one is iron. So E key to pick it up, left key to place it. It's just as easy to go back around, and also look at my arrows. My arrows are going the right way. Okay, so I'm just going to go over here and place it beside that one. Alright. And our next one that I have here is Cloutium. And I use the E key to pick it up, left key to place it, and another left click. Left key. Left click to place it, left click again to lock it down or put it where I want it. Our next one here is shards. Again, E key to pick it up, left key to silhouette it, left key to lock it or click it, place it. And if you notice, after I did the first one, every one I pick up after that is all pointing in the right direction. I'll show you with this last one here. So if I come back around, I use my E key to pick it up, left click and it silhouettes it. But notice it's pointing the arrows in the right way. It remembers what you did on the last one. Now this looks a little weird, a little funky, because this is like hanging up in the air. This one's out here all by itself, and like, oh no, Lars, what are we going to do with that one? Again, this is where our compressor comes in, right? So here we're going to have our gems drop out and go into the compressor. Another thing that we need to do that we haven't talked about is what I like to do is pick up a cork and I'll place it into the front of this. This keeps water from pouring out, okay, where you don't need it. And the same thing for all these. I have to do all these, okay? So by putting a cork in there, it keeps my pressure up, and I'm not just losing, water pouring out on the ground, all right? So when I come back, we'll put the compressor up. I'll have all the corks put in. I'll take and lock all these down, and then we'll look at the next step. Be back shortly. Alrighty, so here we are again. I have put up the splitters, as you guys saw me do earlier, and I locked them down. I put corks. I had to move the funnels, and I put corks in so we don't have any water leakage. I've added the compressor here. The only direction the compressor can go in to work effectively that I have found is because you have to operate the red handle, and you also need water. So what I typically will do is I'll have a water pipe that comes out, makes an elbow, comes around, and connects to here. Okay? But this direction seems to work best for that application. What I've also done is to add a couple conveyor belts, a vertical ramp, and these are centralizers. The different conveyor belt, they have just regular ones, but this one makes all your resources funnel in a straight line, which you want that to go up straight. The next part, this is actually a little confusing, maybe even a little hard to explain. You see how everything is in a straight line right now, okay? So you got your splitters up there, you've got your conveyor belts, everything's in a straight line this direction. Now we're going to offset. And what I mean by that is we have to have this harvester to dump the iron ore, the gold, everything onto this conveyor belt. So from this point forward, we offset by 1, and we're going to work backwards that way. So in order to do that, again, we started this whole build with our foundations. Then we figured out what direction we want everything to flow, right? You work backwards. So here's our smelting pots, here's our funnels, here's our splitters, our compressor. Now we're going to place this harvester. Again, we use highlighted E key, left click. If I put it right there, look what that does. So the funnel, the ores and things are going to come out of this little chute and right onto our conveyors and up into our splitters. Alright. So what I have to do next is, again, I'm working backwards. So here's my harvester. What I want to do is to put this funnel on top of my harvester, because I'm going to have little chunks of dirt, hopefully, that's going to fall down in. And when it does, I need it to fall in a straight shot, right? So there's our harvester that's going to take the raw chunks of dirt, it's going to churn it up into little chunks, it's going to spit it out on this belt, it's going to feed up, and it's going to go through our splitters and down into our smelting pots, where we can go and left click our molds and get out an ingot of gold or iron or cloutium or shards. Okay, so again, working backwards, I have now placed the harvester. So what I would have to do next is to place a ramp to get my raw dirt up to the harvester, right? And this is kind of high up in the air, so what I'm going to do is place another vertical. So now I have 2 that goes up. My raw dirt will drop into here. My resources, gold, iron, shards, will come out onto that conveyor belt, into the splitters, and into the smelters, right? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start building out. I may even put a grinder. I think I will. I think I'll take this apart, put a grinder up there, and then have some vertical conveyors. And then we'll put our ram drills, and then after that comes the pipe. And I've already realized that I will not have enough money to do everything. So when I come back, it'll take a little while. I'll earn some more money, and then we'll continue on with our build. So we'll see you soon. So now we have the very beginnings of our system here. And what I did do, I took away these verticals and moved them back some. And I put in 2 more grinders, because we have other grinders that are going to take the large chunks of dirt, and it's going to move it up and grind it along the belt. But every once in a while they'll reclump back together. We want to keep them small so that when they drop into the funnel, they go into the harvester and they come out, individual ores. Okay. And what I also did, I guess I'm just kind of anal this way. I couldn't stand looking at these things floating in the air, so I went and got some more foundations, and I placed it up underneath it. If I come over here, you can see how it's like, getting higher off the ground. The next step is going to be to add pipes, and I do want to say that this video is intended for first-time users, first-time game players of Hydroneer, and for people, my friends, like River, my brother, Smoke74, and for others, I just hope that you'll find it helpful. Hoping that it will be useful to you. So, and what I do is not necessarily what you have to do. Not by any means. It's your game. You do it any way you like. I'm just trying to show you what I do to make things a little easier, a little better. So what we're going to end up having here, I have to do the piping still. Okay, so I'm going to have to go make a little more money, and I'll do the piping. I'll add in my pressure tanks that I've already bought, and filters, and I will show you how we put all that together. And we only have four ram drills here, but with these ram drills here, and I may have to take the foundations out from under the ram drills in order for it to work on the dirt, or I may even have to add dirt up underneath the ram drills. Not sure yet, but we'll check it out. Okay. But the thing of it is, this is expandable. Okay, so I could bring more ram drills down this way. I could even turn a corner, and I could add more ram drills this way as well. So, and they make corner conveyors, lefts and rights. All right. I would just need to obviously add more grinders as I go. So, we have the beginnings of an automated system. And when I come back, we'll get into the piping of it, just like we did the piping over there. Now, I could go and tear all that down, and it would probably save me some money, but I'm not going to. I like to leave things, to make it look like the mining pit. This is how we got started, and so I like to leave that starting area like it is. And as I progress, and if I go to another quarry, I'll leave everything here as it is. But this is going to start making money, and you'll see once we get it fired up what I'm talking about. This is going to make money fairly quick, way quicker than we could with that. Okay. Um, but anyway, when we come back, we'll start working on the piping, and we'll just take it from there, one step at a time. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Alrighty. So we started running our water pipes, and what I've done is first, remember I told you this last splitter, we got to get water up to our compressor. So I used a couple of elbows, a straight pipe, another elbow, and it just makes a loop. If I come up here, you can see it a little better. It comes out of the splitter, straight pipe, elbow, elbow, right to my compressor, to the water pipes right there. Because ultimately, what I'm going to end up doing is pressing this little handle, and this will make the top drop down. It'll compress all my gems. So we're getting that going. And while we were away, I got to thinking about it a little bit, and what I personally have found and what I really like doing is to have an on-off valve right there close to my hand, because this is going to be your main work area, right? I mean, you're going to have all your smelting pots, you're going to be getting your ingots, you'll have an anvil, a scale, and you're going to want to create things right here so you can take it to town and sell it, make money, the whole idea of the game, right? So what I've done is try something a little different. I took my intake valve, I actually clipped through this rock, which was kind of cool. Gives it a cool looking effect anyway, I think. And I brought it around where I can just get to my shutoff valve fairly easily. Then I've added pressure tanks for right now, just a couple, because I don't have very many shard ingots made up yet. We'll get there. So remember what I said about making everything expandable, right? So any straight pipe can be replaced with a filter or a pressure tank. And speaking of filters, what I've done is I have 6 filters on my system. Okay, maybe a little bit of overkill, but I'm going to explain that in a second. But if I count them, I got 3, 4, 5, 6, and I haven't finished it out yet. When your system gets down to around about 30%, that's when I will typically turn the valve off. I'll get a repair kit and I'll repair the first 5 filters. Number 6 will still be at 100%, okay? And for me, that's a safety valve. The tool bag gives you 5 repairs, and once the 5th one is done, the tool bag disappears. So, by keeping your last filter at 100%, everything downstream, your harvesters, your drills, those are going to stay at 100% also. When your last filter starts dipping down, I want to say around 80% or something, you'll start taking damage on everything else, and it takes more toolkits to repair everything else. But one toolkit will get me 5 filters, the last one stays at 100%, everything downstream stays at 100%. The thing to notice here too is that everything is flowing in one direction. It's critical. Okay, I can't stress that enough. You've got to make it flow in one direction. So it comes up, is flowing that way. It comes around, it's flowing that way. And I'll continue that on down, and I'll pick back up here in a little bit after I get the rest of the pipe done and show you, how that's done. Okay? So for now, let me finish that up and I shall return. Okay, so as you can see, as I explained earlier, we have our filters. And what I did then for River and Smoke 74 and anybody else that's interested, I went ahead and continued my pipes. And what I did was I brought my pipes in. I got a T right here for my harvester, and I have another T right beside it, and I'm feeding water to that conveyor belt system. It's a short little conveyor belt, right? But it also feeds my splitters. It goes down to the end. It left-hand U-turns back to my compressor. But meanwhile, going down, and I haven't locked these down yet, guys, so I will. I just haven't done it yet. Alright, so I'm continuing my pipes on down. And what I did was I added a pressure gauge so that once I start it up, I can keep an eye and see what the pressure is just before it hits my drills down here. And I added a T, another T. I curved it. I added another T for this conveyor belt. Curved again and added a couple more T's. Let me get up on top so you can see it a little better. So here you can see I come off of those. I come here, I hit a T, and I bend around, I hit a T and another T for the other one. So this water, it starts way down there. It flows this way, right? Flows all the way around, and it's going there, and it's powering these guys up, it's powering that up, okay? And then, like I said, we had a T right here, and it comes over and powers this conveyor belt up, okay? And also that water, it continuously flows up. It's hitting these splitters up here. And it turns and it comes out of that last splitter and it comes to the compressor. So with the setup, and because I only have, let me explain this, I've got two pressure tanks. One of those has a rather large ingot in it, I think 586 pounds. The other one's pretty small, it's 122 pounds. That's fine. That's all I have right now is 2 ingots. But this little setup is going to make a lot more shards, which are going to smelt, which will become ingots. And then I can add more pressure tanks. So I have one sitting here just ready to go. Okay. Right now I've only got one tool bag, but we'll get more of those as we go. Okay. So there is your first automated basic setup. Alright, so let me lock those pipes down. I'll come back, we'll turn it on, and we'll see what it does, okay? Oh, yes, and I also added this crate, so that I can get up here fairly easily. I got to get to my handle. And another thing that's very important, guys, really need to get one of these. Get you a magnifying glass. Let me show you how this works real quick. If I go over here, let's say to my harvester, and you see where my blue dot is pointing at my harvester, right? And if you notice the handle on the metal part, it says 100. That harvester is at full health. It's at 100 health. If I move it away, you don't see it, but when I put it on something, then it shows you the health of that item, right? Same thing for my drills. It shows you it's 100, 100. The other thing I'll have to do too is I'm going to have to turn my drills on. But where you really need this magnifying glass, for me, is this very first filter right here. Like I said, when it gets around 30, 32, 30, 28, I'm going to shut the whole thing down. And when I shut it down, then I'll grab a tool bag. I'll come over here and I'll repair those. I'll show you how that's done after we do our first run, okay? And that's another terminology that I use, is a run. For me, a run is when I first turn it on, everything's at 100%. The first filter gets around 30 and I shut it off. That's the end of that run for me, okay? Just a little bit of Lars terminology. Alright guys, so bear with me. I'll be back. I'm going to go lock down these pipes and we'll continue. Alright, just about ready to fire this thing up. So one of the things we have to do is I put my circle over the handle, left click with my mouse, and that puts that in the on position. So I have all 4 of these turned on now. And I did go through, I locked my pipe. I went through, did some more mining, making some things, selling them. So I bought another scale, I got another mold and the anvil, another furnace. I placed it, I like it. I like mine under the foundation, as you already know. So we are ready to fire this up. Oh, darn. One other thing I did forget that is pretty important. What will happen from time to time is your resources are going to come out of here. So remember, we set this up as gold, iron, cloutium, shards, and gems, right? I have noticed in the game that sometimes they'll come out and the gold will fall over into the iron, etc. And you don't want that. You want this to all be gold, all be iron, etc. So the way we can do that, and another thing is too that when your resources are coming out of the harvester, they can easily fall off and they hit the ground and makes a mess. So I guess what I'll do is I'll cut away. But what we do is back here in Bridgeport in the housing store, we buy buy sheet metal. If you get the small squares of it, you can place those along your conveyor belts. You can place them in between your splitters. And that way, when resources come out of the splitters and they bounce or whatever, they'll just bounce off of the sheet metal and right on down into the smelters. Another thing I like to do too is there's a wooden beam, and that beam will keep things from flying. Be right back. Okay, so here at Bridgeport, this is again the housing store. And if we go over here, there's 10 sheets. So these are the ones that I want. I'm going to get a bunch of them because I'm going to line the conveyor belts and I'm going to separate the splitters. So once I get all these together, we'll pick back up from that point. I just want to show you where it was at. Okay, so I've picked up some sheet metal and I've already placed it along my conveyor belt system. And it just gives it a little edge, helps keep the dirt inside. And if I pick it up with my E key and I get it where I want it, so in this case I could just do this, hitting my R key a couple times, it brings it around so it blocks it along the edge. So it gives it just a small lip, and that's really all we're trying to do, just to get a small lip on these, okay? But I wanted you to see the actual process of it. I'll put these on and it will be good. And let's put one right there. Alright, so we'll be back momentarily. And we're back. Okay, so we've placed our sheet metal around. I've locked it down. And we're just about ready to fire this up. Let's see what it does. Turn it on. Let's see if our ram drills start working. Producing dirt. Or not. They may not, because they're up here on this foundation. Yeah, they're not producing anything. So let's go cut it off. We'll fix this. And I'll be back. Alright guys, we're back. I fixed it, and it was quite a bit of work to get these to work correctly. But that's okay, I learned something in the process as well. So, let me explain what I did. So I had these ram drills here, right? And I had these platforms, and the ram drills weren't close enough to the dirt to be able to extract anything. What I ended up having to do was to undo all my pipe, and I removed one ram drill out of the way, got my shovel. I didn't want to make holes over here, so I was going back and forth from my original pit, and I made little dirt piles up underneath my ram drills. So you can see one there, and you can see another one over there. And once I got dirt up underneath the ram drills, now they'll work properly. And then I had to put everything back together again, so forth and so on. So I ran it for a second or two just to see, how it would look, if it would work. And it does, so I'm happy to say. Also, I have this little ladder here at the end of my my system so that if I get any dirt clogs or big pieces of dirt that didn't get ground up for whatever reason, I can run down here and I can just drop them on the grinder belts, and it'll feed it right on up to the system. Alright, so that being said, let's turn it on. Let's see what it does. Here we go. We're up and running. Now what I like to do, well, let's go back down here first, look at the grinder belts. Now, see how the ram drills, this side went 2 pieces of dirt, this side went 2 pieces of dirt. Everything is funneling up to my harvester. My harvester in turn is spitting out our resources. So you're going to have iron, gold, shards, cloudium. Here we go, and gems. Alright? You see what I mean about by grinding it up, you get a lot more pieces versus just one chunk of iron or one chunk of gold. Okay? And let's go up here on top. This is my favorite place, is up here on top. And I have my magnifying glass up here, by the way, because I like to spend my time up here. But I'm watching this funnel, this harvester, because if it gets a giant clog in it, 1 or 2, maybe 3 would be okay, but eventually what's going to happen is everything is going to get backed up. It's going to create a heck of a mess. So you want to make sure you keep an eye on that, alright? Don't let it get clogged. Okay, so here comes my resources all the way up into my splitters. As they hit the splitters, they're dropping down into my funnels. So here goes the gold. There's the iron. There's cloutium in that one. There's shards in that one. Okay. And then my gems are dropping in over here. Now, like I said before, the compressor, the way that works, I put this little wooden board over my compressor, over the handle, so things don't go flying out to the side. What I tend to do is I'll take the board away, drop it on the ground, and once I'm hovered over the little lever, I push it down, it compresses. Ah, look, there's some onyx, ruby, emerald, sapphire. Okay. Then I'm going to put the board back. I have to hit my Y key. And I don't lock that one in place because I want to continuously take it out. And there's a gem that's gotten lodged. Okay, that happens sometimes. Gotta watch for that. Once you get that gem pulled out, you can just come over here and drop it back on your conveyor belt. It'll do its thing. The other thing you want to watch for, I'll take my blue mouse, or my blue circle there, right, with my mouse, and I hover around inside of the smelt. Because if I get ingots showing up or outlined or highlighted, then that means I got a problem. And if I let that go, we'll also get a great big jam up, okay? So you really don't want this to get jammed up, get clogged up. It creates major headaches. Another thing I'll do sometimes is I'll get out here on my sheet metal. Oop, well, I fell off. Tends to happen. But what I want to do is, I'll get out here and sheet metal, I'll show you. I'll turn, I'll watch, and I'll look. Just like we had a clog with the gem over there, I want to make sure that no resource, and it'll highlight orange if there's something getting clogged up inside of here, okay? So as long as we don't have clogs, we're good. The clogs are bad. Alright, so we started our run. We got things working here. So here's what I do next. I'll pick up my magnifying glass. I'll come over here and see. By having my filters close to my on-off valve, this makes it very convenient. I look at my first filter, it's still at 100%. That's awesome. Everything right now is 100%, okay? But you're going to watch that, and as that wears down, you're going to want to do your repairs, alright? So let me step away for another moment. We'll be right back.